Good evening. The time is 7 o'clock on November 23rd. Well, at long last, the rough draft of the thesis is in. It's been quite an effort, and personally, I think I could have done a whole lot better. But I'm trying to work on the same level as two very wonderful historians, Malcolm Barbour, who is the leading expert on the Knights Templar, and Riley Smith, Jonathan Riley Smith, who is a Crusade historian as well as an author on the Knights Hospitallers. I have 38 pages in my thesis, 39 including the bibliography, and at the moment, 14 sources. That's not enough for the Christendom minimum requirement, which is 40 pages and 20 sources, although they give a lot of slack to the philosophy majors. But my advisor said quality is better than quantity, which, thanks be to God, he understands concise writing. I am not a writer when it comes to marathons. I'm nice and concise, my motto. Also, the 3 10-pagers that I've been complaining about are just about finished. I turned in my Modern Ireland paper on Thursday. The Owen Barfield paper for Inklings will be turned in on Tuesday, and I've been working with that a fair bit with Schwartz, my history teacher. And the Medieval Germany paper is finally finished on the Teutonic Knights. Now, with all that aside, I have nothing to worry about in my upcoming scholarly projects except to finalize the thesis and the finals themselves. Now, for the thesis, I didn't get a good grade on the rough draft, but I didn't expect to get a good grade. It was a B-, which is 30% of the total score. One of the reasons why it was a B- was because I was half asleep with certain sections and I could do better in the grammar. Maybe I should have drank some coffee. Oh well. The other reason was actually rather interesting. As I said before, Malcolm Barbour and Riley Smith are the best historians when it comes to the two religious military orders. But my problem was, since they're the only experts that really are worth drawing from, as the ones I know, I did draw heavily from them. And as my advisor put it, my second chapter on Templars is pretty much ad-lib from Malcolm Barbour's The New Knighthood, which is his book on the Templar order. So what I need to do now, according to my advisor, is to add a few pages in about the trial. The Templars actually were condemned as heretics back in 1312, if listeners or viewers don't know. The reason behind that is confusing, but pretty much the King of France, Philip IV, and I believe it was Henry for the King of England, don't quote me on that, they accused the Knights Templars of certain practices such as homosexuality and sacrilege and things like that in their initiation practices. Now, I don't know all the details. I do know that lots of the Templars did say that they were guilty, but they were tried under torture, or tested under torture. So the evidence is rather dubious. But I get to look into it and see what the facts are. Now, the only reason I was going to put that in a little tidbit about the trial in my thesis was because once the Templars were destroyed, much of their property went over to the Hospitallers. And Philip IV and the King of England, they tried to give the wealth of the Templars for themselves, but surprise, surprise, there wasn't much to give. The Templars were actually not that rich. But my advisor, Dr. McGuire, said that if I put in a couple pages on the trial, it'll be a nice finishing touch to the Templar portion. The Hospitaller portion is a bit better, doesn't need to be touched at the moment. But I'll be working on that until Thanksgiving break, which will be Wednesday. And then my thesis is due on the 4th. So if there's anything else that needs to be said, I'll have only a few days to work on it. Now, what does that mean for YouTube and Blogger? Well, it means a lot. You viewers may have noticed that I have not been updating for some time, even though I have plenty of ideas. It's just because I've been writing non-stop each evening for these papers and thesis, and pretty tired. What's it called? Writer's block, brain dead, those things. But now I can actually get back to work. I've been thinking about some hypothetical structures for the crucifers, and nothing conclusive yet. I'm still juggling between the organization and how to set up a rule. Since I'm basing a lot of my knowledge about such an organization off the Templars, Hospitallers, and Teutonics, I have to see how feasible it will be to make a quasi-lay equivalent. I may have mentioned in one of my videos before that I'm intending to use the Hospitallers' idea of a charity and defense of Christendom ideal as the basis for the crucifers, although, as I need to keep repeating unless somebody takes this and runs with it, even though the crucifers will be militarily organized, they're not going to be a military force, God willing. So, other ideas? I've been thinking on the economic problems that will probably have to be addressed in the future if I still decide to go with this idea of a Catholic political party. A friend of mine suggested meeting up with Catholic Militant TV in Michigan. My friend's name is Joe Gonzalez. He's a transfer. Shout out to him. I don't know much about Church Militant TV. I'll have to look into it. But from what Joe has said, it sounds like the founder and I will get along quite well since we have similar ideas. I also would like to look into some of the other groups around the area, Live Action, HLI, which is just down the road actually, PRI, which is on Main Street, HLI and PRI, Human Life International, and the Population Research Institute, a pro-life organization, and I suppose the other one works with contraception and euthanasia as well. I'll have to look into that. I've been thinking about the debt, the financial debt of the United States. I wrote a short article on that. A lot of work would have to go into researching the resources of the United States to see how well the idea would, how feasible it would be to use the natural resources of our country to pay off the debts of our country. I don't think it can be done immediately, but at least if we begin to draw out from what we already have, it should alleviate some financial burdens. I'm just thinking about the people the most. If we don't do anything, and we'll say China comes knocking on our door at a hard time asking for their money, taxes are going to skyrocket. Just hoping that I can think of something that will avoid that. What else to say? I'm looking for a job for the season. Nothing yet. I've read quite a few books. I read George Orwell's 1984, finished it, I think it was Wednesday. It was okay. I'm not sure what to make of it, actually. I read Unbroken, which was by Mrs. Hildebrand. I think I got her name right. About a B-24 bomber in World War II named Louis Zamperini, and he was a marathon runner just before World War II, but then after his plane, he and another crewmate had to spend at least 2 years in the Japanese POW system. More than 2 grand. What else? I'm reading Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Haven't finished it yet, so I can't say anything about it, but so far it's been quite a read. Or Charles Williams' All Hallows Eve. Not sure what to make of that book. Thankfully we'll get to discuss it in English class on Tuesday. Well, come to think of it, I'm just going on a rant, and I'm just rambling on. So I'll finish the video here. If I think of anything else, I'll just make another video this evening. And that is all. Good night.